brief little background on the American Heritage Education Foundation and this project. It's actually the inspiration for American Heritage came from my stepfather, Dr. Richard Gonzalez. Richard was a son of a barber in San Antonio, and was good with numbers. His dad let him keep the barbershop money, and Richard was very proud of that. He went to the University of Texas, got his bachelor degree at 17 years of age, got his master's degree at 19 years of age, and got his PhD at 21 years of age at UT. Still the youngest PhD that's ever come out of the university. We've checked every now and then with the dean up there to make sure of that, and he confirmed that. At 21 years of age was pretty interesting, but he was tapped by Humble Oil to, Humble Oil at that time, the new energy industry was just kind of getting rolling, and Humble had some far-reaching founders who decided that they needed an energy economist on staff. So some of these were UT fellows. They went up to Austin and were looking around, went to the economics department. Richard was a professor at that time, and explained that they're looking for an energy economist. And the department said, well, Richard's our best young man. You ought to talk to him. And long story short, they hired Richard in 1937. He moved to Houston and began a long career as an energy consultant, energy specialist, became one of America's foremost energy economists in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. He was very interesting. He became alarmed in the early 1950s that American corporations were not really, in American government, were not really doing a real good job of explaining the American capitalist system to other countries, and how, what and why America became so successful and so prosperous. He began writing a lot of articles in the early 1950s on this subject, was married to Lorraine, and they were at a conference in London in 1970, and she was accidentally killed in an automobile accident. Actually a bus accident. So they did not have children, so Richard was on his own. He had actually lived in a house that my father was an architect and had designed for Richard and Lorraine in the 1950s on a little street called Teal Way. And my mother and dad actually lived on Teal Way at that time, and another one of his houses, of course. And after mother and dad were divorced, Richard and mother being friends, dad being the architect of Richard's house, they started going to symphonies and plays and things like that. Long story short, they were married in 1976. And mother had just gotten off the school board. She was a school board trustee from 1972 to 1976 here in Houston, was very interested in education, and she and Richard really hit it off. And Richard kept explaining to mother that you know, the schools were not doing a very good job in not only teaching the capitalist system, but in teaching America's founding principles. They've been following this since the late 70s, early 1980s. They were living in Austin at the time, and actually started an organization in Austin called Friends of American Heritage Education, and actually teamed up with University of Texas to promote the teaching of America's founding principles in our schools, primary and secondary schools. Had given UT a considerable sum of money to do that project, and after a year, UT disbanded the program, kept the money, and I guess the project was too conservative for them or something, too traditional, too patriotic. I'm not sure why, but Richard and mother after that moved to Houston sold their house, moved to Houston, and we're in my office one day. I'm a designer and a construction business, and they were in my office one day explaining what had happened in Austin, and said they wanted to reignite a program to help schools know our founding principles, ideas, and ideals a little bit better. And they were in their 80s at their time, and I was looking at them, and I said, well, that sounds like a very good idea. Who's going to do this? And they kind of looked at me and said, well, you're nominated. So here I am in the construction business and designing projects, and all of a sudden I'm a very poor history student, and I'm in the middle of American Heritage Education Foundation with Mother. She's with us here today. She just turned 104 years old on December 29th. And we're very proud of Jeannie. She's still very active. She always, every time I see her, she's got a couple of new ideas. And I said, Mom, we haven't finished the last 7 or 8. Give us a chance. But so this project is really kind of an outgrowth of Mother's thinking, my thinking, and Angela and Claudine, my 2 daughters. I'm a volunteer for the foundation. We only have 2 paid staff, Angela and Claudine, my twin daughters, who are doing a great job. And Nelson here is an intern for us who's doing our scorekeeping for the project. But we thought that this project would make a lot of sense to bring attention to the importance of knowing America's founding principles.